Yeah, when I was 12 years old, I jacked up a car. I basically got the hell beat out of me. My story. I think this was probably around 1975. That's a year I'll never forget. 1975. Wow. Anyway, it was on a weekend, I remember. I don't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday. I think it was on a Saturday. Anyway, my dad's buddy gets a boat, and he's wanting to take his boat out on the water for the first time. So he invites Dad to go along on a fishing trip with him. And I happened to be awake and heard the car pull up, and Dad left. You know, he told Mom goodbye. He told us kids goodbye, and he made a statement that Mom says, "When will you be back?" He said, "I won't be back till late this evening. Later, probably near dark." It was summertime. Anyway, he leaves, and now you gotta remember, it's 1970s, 1975. You know, when my dad was gone, I was not allowed to get on the CB radio. He was so afraid I would mess up the knobs or something. He had it set where he wanted the radio. Anyway, you know, it's a little bit on television, but nothing much. It was the weekend. And I remember, if I remember correctly, I fell asleep with my police scanner kit, and I had dead batteries. Couldn't listen to my police scanner kit. My dad said, "Well, when we go to the grocery store, we'll get you some more batteries." I don't know why he never hooked up a little DC power supply for that so I could plug on the wall, but he didn't. I guess he figured that maybe I'd get bored with it. Never. It was very, very cool to listen to the police in 1975. Anyway. That day, you know, I went outside, played with the dogs, and I was just bored. There was no technology. We didn't have no technology in those days. Very little. Anyway, we had a Mercury station wagon, and so I walked out to the car and, attempted to open the door. Dad always locked the car, because he didn't want his kids in it. And he forgot to lock the car. Wow. So I get in, open the door. I get in the back seat and just screw. I'm a fidgety 12-year-old boy. I get in the car and I look in the back and there's this old-timey jack, my dad's jack. Now, you older people know what I'm talking about. It was a stainless steel pole, and I call it a bumper clutch, or it had a metal attachment. I guess it's probably 8 inches long. And now in those days, there was no fiberglass. Everything was solid or was heavy gauge steel. All bumpers were heavy gauge steel. So and the jack was heavy, the old time jack, not hydraulic. It worked on leverage. So I imagine I managed to pull the jack out of the back seat, or out of the back, it was a station wagon, out of the back compartment, pulled it over the back seat and got it outside. Now Mom was so busy, she was fixing lunch. This is probably about 2:30, and she was fixing, as I walked outside, she said, "Don't go far," she said, in the backyard. I wasn't allowed on the road or nothing like that, of course. I was 12 years old, but she says, "I'm fixing tuna sandwiches." I never will forget that. I love tuna. Anyway, so she was busy in the kitchen. Anyway, as I was outside in that car, our car, and I managed to get that jack out, and I managed to put the bottom metal plate on it, and I managed to put the bumper latch and hook it to the bumper. Now, like I just said, it was not hydraulic. It worked on leverage, so it had the tire iron. You had to put the tire iron in the hole of the metal jack and start jacking. Now, I started jacking up the car. Of course, when you get them springs stretched, and then you got the weight of the wheel, I had to put my body weight into the jack to jack up the car. So, every time I laid my body weight, it wasn't easy. It was hard. You click, that jack going up, and that tire slowly coming off the ground, driveway. I guess after a while it was hard to do it. I guess after I got that tire about 2 or 3 inches off the driveway. It was up in the air. So I decided to let the car down. Now you remember in those days, station wagons were heavy. And there's a little latch on the side of that jack, and I couldn't get it. I remember a few times when Dad would have a flat tire, he would sometimes have to take a hammer to that little latch, that push that latch down. Then you could let the car down. The latch wouldn't budge. I couldn't get it to budge, so I could not let the car down. So I was scared to death. Oh, I was horrified because I couldn't. I was getting ready to cry. I was going to have to get Mom out here to undo that latch. Well, all of a sudden, Mom calls me into lunch. We're sitting there eating tuna sandwiches. I'll never forget those tuna sandwiches. And she put onion, stuff like that in them. All of a sudden, we heard a car pull up. It was Dad. The fish wasn't biting. They went to the wrong lake, I guess. I don't know, wherever they went. Oh, I started crying. When Mom looked out and seen that car, now the trouble here, the weight of the car overcompensated that jack. And when we looked out, when Dad pulled in, our car that I had jacked up was leaning about 90 degrees. That's right. I don't know how that car kept from falling. That jack was barely holding it up. The whole jack, you see my hand real good? About 90 degrees. The whole car just, oh man, I tell you what, Dad knew it was me. He tells his friend goodbye and then he leaves. And before he comes in there, he pulls my pants down. And my dad probably bust my ass for 5 minutes. He didn't believe in no belt. He always tore off a tree limb off a tree. We called it a switch. Real limber switch. Well, that going around your legs hurt. And he just beat the hell out of me. Well, not beat, whipping. I'm using beat to emphasize. He whipped the hell out of me. I started crying. Oh, my legs are stinging. And I mean, with every swipe of that switch on my legs as he was beating me or giving me a whip, and he said, "Don't you ever do." His voice was a tone of fear and anger. You could have been crushed. You could have been killed. Oh, I could have. If I'd went out to that car and that car, just the momentum of that car falling, just the momentum of it hitting me would have seriously injured me at 12 years old. And after my whipping, I went into the bedroom and cried for hours. Mom come in there and she chewed me out. Mom didn't whip me, just my dad whipped me. But she said, "You should never do that." Then it seems like they got into a little light argument. You should have been keeping an eye. I was keeping an eye on him, and I was busy fixing. I never dreamed he'd do that. And then, well, he's 12 years old. Just a light argument. They were just both scared I could have been killed. I tell you what, my legs stung me hour after hour. All evening my legs stung me. I cried myself to sleep. My legs stinging. That's the hardest whipping I've ever got. Oh, my legs. I looked at my legs were red from where that switch had hit my legs, went around my legs. The tip of the switch is very limber. Well, that stings you. That stings when it hits you. Oh, I never will forget. It's been, 42 years? 42 years ago, and I can still feel that. I can still feel that pain. And that gives you any idea how hard he whipped me, my dad. Oh, he busted my ass over that. Oh, he busted my ass. It seemed like that whipping 5 minutes. I was begging him to stop. It just hurting too damn much. Oh, God. Oh, he whipped me hard over that. I could have been killed if that car would have fell. But I tell you what, man. Oh, my God. Jesus. Now, if I had been a hydraulic jack, all I would have had to do is pull that tire iron out and turn that knob. It's easy to use. They're easy to use, the hydraulic jacks, but you got to remember, I was using the old-time leverage-only jack. And sometimes them jacks was hard to operate. I remember my dad, he was a strong man. He couldn't get that latch. For some reason, it stuck. I remember him, when he'd jack up a car, fixing a flat tire like I just said, I remember him taking a hammer and tapping that latch to get to jack back down that car, our car. So that latch was often sticking, and I didn't think about that when I was 12 years old jacking up our car. But I tell you what, boy, he busted my ass for that. 1975. Boy, I'll never forget you. Boy, still feel that pain too.